Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Call It or Keep It. And today's game is Haru Ichiban. This is a two-player game designed by Bruno Cathala. And this was a really tough decision. So if you're just new to our series, the format of this is I'm going through a bunch of games that have sat in my collection for many years, unplayed. And so letting people know how it got into my collection, why it has sat in my collection unplayed, and whether I'm going to keep it in my collection and why, or whether I'm going to get rid of it and why. So this is not intended to be a review video. This is one very specific opinion from me. So, and I'd like to think that I do this in a respectful and fair way while still, maintaining my opinion, because it's my opinion. Oh, this is going down a bad hill. So, just got done playing this with my wife, and this is a game that I picked up 2 Essens ago, so Essen 2014, and I came about it in a really strange way. So, a good friend of mine now that I live in the Seattle area, Marguerite, from Card Kingdom and Mox. She was there doing a bunch of buying for the store, and she had picked up some of these that were very, very limited release. A very small amount of these were made available at Essen, and she was able to grab, I think, like 8 or so, because they know they were a retail store, that it was going to get good exposure, so they weren't held to like the normal limitations. And even though I had an exhibitor pass, I still missed out on getting it. So I was very, very excited when she said that she had some extra, so I jumped right on it right away. And the reason that I did that, I knew nothing about the game. And this is one of the things that I really want to share with you guys. One of the ways that I feel that this show can be good for social change, can be good for us looking within ourselves and having some self-improvement, some self-evaluation, and some recognition of the things that we do that we're maybe not happy with and why we do them. And so this is something that I picked up purely on rarity. I'm a bit of an achievement hunter. I'm a bit of a rarity guy. I'm a bit of a collector, more than a bit of a collector, if I'm being honest. And so this was something that I picked up because I knew that I wouldn't be able to pick it up again. That decision is not entirely wrong, but it is more wrong than it is right. And hopefully that makes sense. And that's not the best decision on how to buy things. And I really felt bad because another good friend of mine here in the Seattle area, Suze, 425 Suze on Twitter, I know she really wanted this. Or maybe it was either Suze, I'm going to feel bad. It was either Suze or it was my buddy Joe, who works at Mox in Bellevue. It was either one of them or both of them that actually had like prearranged to have these copies, and this had already been, given to me. And maybe my memory is a bit fuzzy here, and that's the thing that's going to come with time. But what's important to know is that there was a lot of social stigma of I didn't want to cost somebody else a copy of the game, and all of that. So that's how it got in my collection. That was a bit long in the tooth, but thanks for staying with me there. Why did it stay in my collection unplayed? The first reason is on a shelf, look what this looks like. There's nothing there. You can't tell what it is. So this gets stacked in a weird place. It gets contended with funny. There it is sideways. I'm not facing stuff out like I would in a retail store in my game room or where I keep my games. So this largely sat unplayed because of that. Now, I do remember bringing it out one time in the last couple of years. And let me preface this by saying I don't claim to be a great rules writer. I would like to think with each game I get a little bit better, and now that I have a team behind me at Geek Chic, I would like to think I'm making leaps and bounds, but the rules for this are pretty terrible. And I even went on BGG and saw some rules that I think were uploaded like 5 or 6 months ago, and those are still pretty bad too. I had to watch, I watched the Dice Tower video from Tom once, and I watched Dan King's video twice. So there was a lot of barrier that went into learning this game. And it's abstract strategy. not my favorite theme. And so that also diminished the desire to pull this out of my collection instead of something, say, a bit newer or flashier. The newer, flashier thing always won, and Haru Ichiban sat there. So that's why. How did it go? How did the gameplay go tonight? Well, let me tell you, I'm not the kind of person that can set my opinion aside and think. I can get disciplined about that sometimes when I need to. When it's a social situation, I always want to hear someone out and not pre-form an opinion. But we're all opinionated creatures. We're going to go into a situation and have some ideas already. So I went into this expecting to get rid of it. And I knew I didn't like abstract strategy. I had no idea what I was doing the first couple turns because of how the rules were written and some lack of clarity, as well as the fact that I'm not the best. I would equate this game very close to a streamlined or simpler version of chess. It's very much so, what is my opponent going to do? Thinking ahead a couple moves. There's some randomness with the element. I was not able to count the numbers, and neither was my wife. And so we didn't have the situation where I'm like, aha, I know that, I know exactly what number she has left. I'm not able to do that. I don't have that kind of memory. And I am very happy that I was able to improve my gameplay because we had a stalemate round where no one had scored any points. And so our flower tokens came off, and then the light bulb came on for me. And so that was kind of a happy accident, and that was really neat. But I was really, really torn on this, and I was really having a hard time. And I'm doing this all silently while I'm playing, and that was the neat thing about this game. It was a very, very soothing game in that regard. It's a very quiet game. You're not talking a lot. I'm like, wow, that felt very thematic. I would call myself a fan of Bruno Cathala. I'm not a fanboy. I know that Dan King is. I'm pretty sure that Z Garcia is. And I enjoy a lot of the games he makes, but I can't tell you that I can name a solo game that he makes off of the top of my head. A lot of the stuff that he makes that I enjoy is stuff that he also co-designs with Bruno for Duty. And so it being Bruno Cathala is somewhat of a neutral for me. Here's what's not a neutral for me, is getting rid of a beautiful, absolute work of art. If there is one game in my collection that counts as art, it's Haru Ichiban. It has beautiful tactile pieces. This is limited. It's rare. This is freaking autographed by Bruno. So I was really struggling with that. And I'm like, Patrick, you cannot consider that. That doesn't make it played. If you're going to keep it for that reason, fine. Then you need to shadow box it, or you need to do something with it that makes it art. And that'd be fine and that'd be cool. But that kind of breaks my heart a little bit. This is a thing to be played with. This is a thing to be enjoyed. And that's what really, has me on this mission, has me on this quest to get through the unplayed games, is they're just sitting on a shelf. And I kind of think of it like a Toy Story thing. They want to be played. They want to be loved on. They need to be used. And, I don't want to keep this around just to look at it or some kind of status symbol. I want it to be in a home that's loved and that it can be played in. And so I finally had to cast that aside and go, that's not a factor. So once I did that, there was a peace. And I was able to evaluate the game without that extra added stress of pressure of all the social situation that I drug into it, all of the scruples that I had with not wanting to get rid of something, so stinking beautiful. And there's a shot of what the board looks like when it's all set up. But man, oh man. So there you have it. This one is actually going to stay in my collection. I believe that this will benefit from repeat plays. And my wife said it made her brain hurt. I got a mental workout from it, but it didn't hurt. It felt kind of good. Like when you drag your chunky butt down to the gym and run for 20 minutes like I do on a more regular basis now. And it felt like it did that for my brain. And so I think this will benefit from repeated plays. And yeah, so I'm going to keep it and not call it. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. I don't have a frequency that these are going out yet, but I'm got to get through a lot of games, so these are probably going to be dropping a minimum of 1 a week. I'm hoping for 2. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.